I've been getting a lot into graphic novels and manga this past year, and it got me thinking of one of my favorite comic runs growing up, the Blackest Night storyline of Green Lantern. And I love that one so much because of all the different Lantern Corps being powered by their own different emotions. It was just, for child me, all the colors was just a roller coaster of fun. And I got the idea this week to turn different Star Wars characters into Lantern Corps because of Yoda's line of fear leads to hatred and hatred leads to no more puppies, or to the dark side, that's what it was. And I wanted to do that. So this week we're going to be taking 2 Star Wars characters and altering the designs and stories to fit into different Lantern Corps. And for this video, I'm bringing back an old character. I say old, but he's like 4 weeks old at most. But this episode will be narrated by Ivan Acclu, our collector of mysterious and otherworldly artifacts. But without further ado, let's get started. Moving to the next exhibit, here we have what seems to be just a normal ring. But don't be fooled. This isn't just any ordinary piece of jewelry. A long time ago, in a galaxy far away, one that, as I must unfortunately admit, do not know the name of, there was an order of peacekeepers that patrolled different planets and sectors. They've been founded quite some time ago when a group of people that became known as the Guardians came across minerals known as kyber crystals, which they were able to fashion into power rings, which, when worn, had the power to physically manifest whatever the wearer could think of, one of which is sitting right before you. This particular ring has quite the history to it. It once belonged to a powerful ruler that— Excuse me, how did you get it? A good question for another time. As I was saying, the Guardians created these power rings for the peacekeepers called the Lantern Knights, that they recruited to uphold peace across the universe. After many years, the Guardians and the Lantern Knights started working alongside the Republic, the main governing body of the galaxy, and as such, based themselves on the same planet as the Republic's headquarters, Oasant. For generations, the Guardians and Lantern Knights upheld peace across the galaxy, with the Guardians largely staying on Oasant to advise, dictate, and even recruit young Lantern Knights, with the Knights themselves traveling to countless planets across a myriad of systems. But every government falls eventually. After many years of peace, the Guardians received word of the revival of the Sith Lanterns, a branch of the Guardians that seceded long ago from the main order. They were consumed by their emotions and sought power and control through means of order. Around this time, a child was brought before the Guardians by Lantern Master Qui-Gon and Jordan Kenobi, who they believed had a great deal of potential as a Lantern Knight. However, the Council of Guardians all agreed that the child was filled with fear, in addition to him being over the general recruitment age by a few years. The child, who went by the name of Anakin, left the council alongside Qui-Gon and Kenobi when they were attacked by a Sith Lantern. This particular lantern wore a red power ring, a ring that is connected to a person's rage. The 2 Lantern Masters fought diligently, using their power rings to conjure objects to offend against their foes' constructs. Eventually, the battle turned into an all-out manifested sword fight, with the enemy creating a double-bladed sword and Qui-Gon and Kenobi each with their own sword. The enemy put up a tough fight and at one point managed to knock down Jordan Kenobi, allowing him to focus on fighting just Qui-Gon. He was able to gain the upper hand and pierce Qui-Gon through the stomach with his manifested sword. Upon seeing the death of his own mentor, Kenobi recovered and ran at the Sith Lord, reforming a sword with his power ring and slicing him in half. With the battle concluded, Kenobi took Anakin back to the Guardians to tell them the news of Qui-Gon. Upon hearing the news of losing a Lantern Knight, the Guardians changed their minds and permitted Anakin to train to become a Lantern Knight, all except for one. Yoda, one of the oldest Guardians, was still against the idea of Anakin becoming a lantern. He remained adamant that the boy had much fear and hatred within him. However, he was outnumbered and reluctantly handed over a power ring to Anakin. Now, I don't normally do this, but I am going to allow each of you to have a closer look at the power ring we're looking at today. All I ask is that you please exercise extreme caution when handling it. I will continue the story once everyone has had a look. Has everyone had a look? Good. If you would please hand the ring so I can put it back. Perfect. Continuing from where we left off, Anakin had spent many years training to become a Lantern Knight. He showed much promise and eventually became a fierce warrior. He even met a woman named Padme Ferris who he fell in love with in secret, as love was an emotion that powered the Sapphire Lantern Knights and was therefore forbidden by the Guardians of Coruscant. I should have mentioned this before, but the main sect of Lantern Knights that we've been discussing this far harnessed willpower in order to fuel their green power rings, but there are other branches of Lantern Knights from all over the spectrum, each harnessing power from a different emotion. As we've discussed before, the Red Lanterns were powered by rage, but there were also lanterns powered by greed and hope. But a major player in this particular story are the Yellow Lanterns, those powered by fear. Now, as I was saying, before long, Anakin completed his training and became a Lantern Knight. But he wasn't satisfied. He wanted to become a Lantern Master, and eventually, even a Guardian of the Council. You see, while Anakin was in training, he frequently heard disembodied whispers telling him he would always be too weak to save his loved ones from a deadly fate. It was this fear of death and loss that had pushed Anakin to take his training more seriously than ever. When he had finally become an official Lantern Knight and given a sector to watch over, he still heard whispers telling him that he had to become even stronger than he was. As a result, Anakin became more rash in his decision-making and battle tactics. There were even instances when he would use brute force when patrolling his sector, and even taking prisoners, all in the name of becoming stronger to save the ones he loved. One day, Anakin stood before the council and demanded he be made into a Lantern Master like them. It was Yoda who spoke. He told Anakin that he was not ready to become a Lantern Master, that he lacked the temperament and patience that a Lantern Master required. Much to Yoda's point, Anakin was livid. He claimed Yoda was being unfair, saying that he wouldn't grant him the rank of Master because he never wanted Anakin to become a Lantern Knight in the first place. He stormed out of the council room as the whispers came to him again. At first, he couldn't make out what they were trying to say, but soon realized that they were coordinates, and with his power ring, flew off-world. You see, the whispers that Anakin was hearing were actually the manipulations of Parapalex, an ancient being that powered the Yellow Lanterns and their fear rings. Parapalex had sensed the same fear within Anakin as Yoda had, and was trying to turn him against the Guardians and the Lantern Knights. As Anakin reached the coordinates, he found nothing except a single yellow power ring. He heard whispers coming from it, telling him that if he wanted to save his loved ones, he would have to don the yellow power ring, as the green one would not give him the strength or the power he needed. Anakin reached out his hand and took hold of the power ring. He cast off the green one he had been wearing and replaced it with the yellow one. In an instant, Anakin was engulfed in a bright yellow aura and came face to face with Parapalex. He told Anakin that the Lantern Knights and the Guardians were going to take control and enact a new tyrannical rule over the galaxy, and had to be disposed of. Anakin flew back to Coruscant and launched an all-out attack on the Guardians and the Lantern Knights. He used the power of fear to create sentient manifestations that can act on their own, a power that no Lantern Knight had ever been able to do. The aftermath was horrid. Anakin had taken out nearly every Guardian, Lantern Knight, and, unfortunately, every Lantern Knight in training. Unbeknownst to him, though, only Yoda and Kenobi remained. It was then that Anakin heard an all-too-familiar scream from somewhere in the Council, one that belonged to Padme. He flew around until he found her, being held captive by a sentient yellow manifestation. Terrified, Anakin tried his hardest to make the construct go away, but this was not one that he created. In reality, it was sent by Parallax himself, specifically to kill Padme. Unaffected by Anakin's fear, the construct killed Padme before dissipating into nothingness. Anakin let out a scream of rage as his power ring began to glow and generate arcing lightning around it. Anakin flew off of Oasant towards where he first found the yellow power ring and first met with Parallax. But before he could get there, he was stopped by an overwhelming force from his power ring. The ring became searing hot as it dug itself into Anakin's skin and made his blood boil, both figuratively and literally in this case. In his intense rage from failing to protect Padme, the yellow fear ring Anakin was wearing had shifted into a red power ring, one fueled by anger and hatred. A power ring that was able to change energy sources from such an intense wave of emotions had never been seen before, or since for that matter. So I am quite proud to have come across this artifact to add to my collection. Thank you all for stopping by today. If there are any artifacts in particular that I have that you would like to hear about, I have put suggestion boxes below each of my displays. You might assume it would be a pain for me to check each of these boxes individually for suggestions, but again, that is for another time. If you like this video, I highly recommend you check out Ivan Acclu's other story, Dr. Jekyll and the Harm Virus. It's an original story, but there's still a lot of sci-fi elements that I think you would like. So if you would like to check that out, that'll be at the end of the video. But before I wrap everything up, while writing and recording this video, the channel hit 200 subscribers. So we've doubled the amount of subscribers this channel has in 2 weeks. Thank you all so much. That is absolutely crazy. I was not expecting that to happen, but it did, and I cannot thank you all enough. That means so much to me. When I did YouTube my first time, when I had my first channel, it took me 5-6 years, whatever, to reach 200 subscribers, and we got that in less than half a year, maybe? I don't know. I didn't do the math correctly, but thank you all so much. That is actually insane. I hope you all stick around for more stuff. It's amazing that I get to do this because of all of you. But if you did have fun with this video, feel free to like it, and you better do it quick before the like button 2 comes out and this one inevitably slows down and stops working. And if you would like to see more stuff from me, the aforementioned Dr. Jekyll and the Harm Virus will be up top along with some other videos on the bottom. And if by chance you're curious what kind of music I was listening to while working on these 2 projects, I have a process playlist down below in the description full of all the different music I was listening to while making these stories. Disclaimer as always, some explicit content. I'm not the one who made the songs, although I wish I was. But that's all I've got for you today. Take care everybody, I'm KyngPin Creations, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya! Oh yeah, I got a rolly chair too. Bye.